I didn't mislead the House, and I don't believe I'm guilty of a contempt. I think that this process happily will vindicate me. I know it's been going for a long time. I'm grateful to the committee. Let's just remember what this is all about, because I think people forget. This is about whether when I went into Parliament on the 1st and I think the 8th of December 2021, and I said that guidance, rules, regulations been followed in number 10, I actually believed or suspected at that time, or knew that there'd been events that broke the rules. And I didn't. I believed that what we were doing was within the rules, and that's why I said what I said to Parliament. And I think what's so interesting about the report today is that after 10 months of effort and sifting through all the innumerable WhatsApps and messages, they found absolutely no evidence to suggest otherwise. And there's absolutely nothing to show that any advisor of mine or civil servant told me, warned me in advance that an event might be against the rules. Nothing to say that afterwards they thought it was against the rules. Nothing to show that I, myself, believed or was worried that something was against the rules. So that for me is a pretty astonishing gap, given the huge amount of stuff that they have. And given also, frankly, that not all the testimony that they have comes from people who are necessarily on my side, as it were. And so I just want to repeat, the reason there's that gap, the reason there's no evidence to show that I must have known, or I must have believed that illegal events were taking place, is because I didn't. And I thought we were fighting COVID to the best of our ability in very difficult circumstances, in number 10, in the Cabinet Office, night and day. And I believe that what we were doing was in conformity with the COVID regulation. So that is why I said what I said in Parliament. And that's why I don't think, I'm certain there's been no contempt.
There are photographs in the report of you in rooms with people who are not socially distanced, in rooms with booze on the table. The committee says that it would have been obvious to you at the time that these were breaches of the guidance, and that because you hadn't mentioned these events that you were at to the House, that may be how you've misled them.
Yeah, but you see, and of course people will say, "Oh, it must have been obvious to you that something was awry and so on." You've got to remember what it's like being Prime Minister. You do what your civil servants advise you to do, instruct you to do. You move from one event to the next. You have a massively regimented diary. There were a number of events, as everybody knows, where I went very briefly to say thank you to staff and that kind of thing. But I believed implicitly that these events were within the rules. Nor did anybody tell me before or afterwards anything to the contrary. And I just imagine.
Sorry, can I just speak on, when you say before or after, the report has got WhatsApps in it from your Director of Communications saying things like, I'm struggling to see how this was within the rules, that this blows another hole in your account.
And he's talking about an event in the Cabinet Room in June of 2020, where actually we were so confident that it was totally above board that the one that I was fired for, I continue to apologise for. We actually put it in the newspapers. We briefed it out. I didn't brief it out, but somebody briefed it out. And I never thought that was against the rules. And nobody told me before or afterwards that it was against the rules. I was very, very surprised. Now, just imagine that I had genuinely thought that stuff was going on in number 10 that was COVID rule breaking. And everybody will understand the implications of that. If I'd known that, everyone will understand the implications of that for the government, for our ability to fight COVID, what a story that would be. You would expect me to have immediately communicated something to my closest advisors and officials saying, what is this? What is this problem we've got here with this this event. What are we doing about it? There's nothing at all to show that. Why not? Because I believed that what we were doing was implicitly within the rules, and that's why I said what I said in the House of Commons, and that is why I think, I thank the committee for their labours, and I'm sorry it's all been going on for so long, but there's been no contempt here.
And one more, just if I may. At that point, before you stood up in the Commons and said quite definitively that, to the best the COVID guidelines were followed at all times, did you stop at any point and think back to those events you were at and think, actually, did that?
No. Because
you didn't consider it at all.
No, because the thing we were discussing was an event that I actually hadn't been at. This was the story that came in, and there were some questions about about other events, but I believed implicitly that they were within the rules, and that was why I was so confident. And another point, if I thought that, if I thought it was a good idea to go out onto the dispatch box in front of all my peers, all my colleagues, and say that that there were no rule-breaking events in number 10, when or a cabinet office, when I knew that could probably be contradicted by dozens and dozens of officials. Why on earth would I have done that? It simply doesn't make sense. I believe that what we were doing was within the rules. That's what I said. That's why I said what I said in the chamber. It was my honest belief at the time, and that's why I thank the committee for their labours. But I really don't think there has been a contempt here. I will add one codicil, if I can, and that is I do think it is a peculiarity. Let me put it that way: that the person who conducted the inquiry into what went on in number 10 and the Cabinet Office, who was presented to me as a person of complete political impartiality, with absolutely no political axe to grind whatever, has just been appointed the Chief of Staff of the leader of the Labour Party. I mean, I make no comment about it, except to say that I'm sure people may want to draw their own conclusions about the confidence they can place in her inquiry, or the motives behind the way she conducted her inquiry and into her report. I think people. I think, how can I put this in the most restricted possible? I think people may look at it in a different light.
I mean, on the 25th of May last year, you were satisfied that it was a wholly independent report.
I was.
Isn't that real? It's quite something, isn't it, to question a civil servant's ability to put their own political feelings aside and not be neutral.
I know.
It's quite a thing to question, isn't it?
Look, as I say, people will make up their own minds about this, and I think that if you told me at the time I commissioned Sue Gray to do the inquiry, if you told me all the stuff that I now know, I think I might have cross-examined her more closely about her independence, and I might have thought about I might have asked her, let me put it this way, I might have invited her to reflect on whether she was really the right person to do it.
And some of your colleagues have suggested that this discredits her report.
The key point that I want to get.
Sorry, would you tell them that that's not true?
Never mind Sue Gray, and never mind Sue Gray. The key point for me is today that people draw their own conclusions. The key thing for me is that today, after a lot of labour, for which I thank them, the Select Committee have produced the Privileges Committee, I should say, have produced a report which I believe totally vindicates me, because there is no evidence whatever that when I stood up in Parliament I said anything that I did not believe, and therefore there is no contempt.